go ahead and take a scooch up. Join the group.
We're on chapter 5, right? Chapter 4. You've read chapter 4 or you haven't read chapter 4? You read chapter 4, so we're gonna turn to, can someone, okay, so you read chapter 4 last, we're about to do chapter 5. Can someone, before we start, does everyone have their book? Can you guys work together and give me just another, like a quick rundown on chapter 4? Do you remember? Details remember?
The little
Yeah, hold that, yeah.
the non-kids, they go to the school and they get escorted by the agents. And then when they try to go into the school, the guards don't let them inside. So then like now they like for like a week or like 2 weeks they don't have like education.
Right.
They're trying to protect the black people because the white people are trying to get at them, so they have to have the guards with them as they walk into the school.
Right, there's some,
Protect them.
yeah, because there's some anger about them trying to attend. Anything else?
She thought the guards were going to protect her from the white. But they're actually trying to keep her away from the school and not let her in.
Right, yeah.
For your book, I want you to be on the writing about reading side. So if you're on the study side, you should flip it over.
Yeah.
There you go. What we're going to do.
We're going into, so we're going to dive into chapter 5. We'll take turns reading, like,
Chapter 5 or 4?
chapter 5. Chapter 5, yeah. So it should be page 82. 82. Okay. And we'll be looking for 3 types of obstacles. One would be a psychological obstacle, right? So something that is happening inside, like so thoughts and emotions. And another type of obstacle would be like a social obstacle, so something that involves what people are doing around the students.
Great, I'm glad you got your.
And then another obstacle would be systemic, so something that has to do with the government, or you guys mentioned the guards, so like the military or the law enforcement or the school system. And we're going to shoot for trying to explain the obstacles that these students face in this chapter, and then provide some evidence, supporting evidence from that. Let's see. Quick vocab checks. Let's see. So we'll run into some of these things here. Can anyone tell me if I told you what federal?
We're gonna do share this one. And we have it ready.
Actually, no, we just went through this. Okay. So we're gonna popcorn read. You're on page 82. This is someone we're able to start. Thank you.
When I opened my eyes the morning, September 23rd, the first thing I noticed was the sun. I streamed into my bedroom through a pair of clear, horizontal windows made this year. After such a wet and gloomy weekend, this was surely a good sign. The National Guard troops were gone, and the court order still stood. Once again, I put on my new store-bought dress. Then, my plan was to meet at home with Mr. and Mrs. Bates and wait for instructions for the city police, which now had the responsibility of protecting us. When Mother and I arrived by 7:45 a.m., several of the other students and their parents were already there. The front yard of living room were abuzz with media snapping photographs, shooting television footage, conducting interviews, and burning here and there. I usually our long wait would be over. By 8 a.m., all 9 of us were there. We chatted anxiously about our first day of school, which classes we had, which ones we feared, what our teachers might be like. I think all of us recognized what could happen. We'd seen the mop outside the school. Elizabeth had even been close enough to feel its wrath. But I didn't want to talk or even think about the danger. None of us did. The police called a little while later and instructed Mr. Bates to transport us
Pause
to
for a second. So, in that first paragraph, or I guess on the whole page, what vibe are we getting? What emotions do we hear? Some anxiety. Okay.
To transport us to the side. Are you ready?
Yeah, no, go.
To transport us to the side entrance of the school, away from the crowd gathering out front. It was time for us to go. Mr. Bates said, we hugged our parents and headed out. I was excited to be finally starting school. Each day out had been worrisome for me. Despite trying to keep us up the homework, I couldn't help wondering what was missing by not being in class and worried about feeling behind. I would work extra hard and do whatever it took to make up for the lost time. I promised myself before heading out the door. I glanced back at Mother and she said that look on her face again. Had that look on her face again. The smile that didn't match the words in her eyes. The 9 of us then piled into 2 cars driven by the NAACP officials for the short ride to Central. As we drew closer to the side of the school, I could hear the muffled sounds of the crowd beyond the car's closed windows. Through the school, the building mostly blocked my full view of the crowd gathered out front. I knew the mob was back. They were not going to give us their fight easily, but neither was I. The cars carrying us rolled up to the curb, one behind the other, pulled quickly to stop next to the side of the entrance. The drivers hopped out and yanked open the car doors. Suddenly, the chants and cheers of the crowd sounded deafening. 2, 4, 6, 8. We ain't gonna integrate. I stepped out of the car and moved swiftly behind the other students. I had no time to think or worry about the crowd saying or doing.
Pause right there. So that chant, I don't know, just imagine being there and having people like chant that.
It'd be scary.
How would you feel? They don't want you to have the education that you're trying to get. They're refusing integration. How would it feel to hear that chant?
Sick.
Sickening? Probably would feel sick too. Anyone else?
You probably feel sad or like disappointed that you're not getting the education you want.
Disappointed, maybe discouraged. You want to pass it to someone? Thank you.
Just take one step and then another, I told myself. In no time, all 9 of us were at the side door. We rushed through a set of large double doors which closed quickly behind us and shut out the light. No one made a sound, but we kept moving rapidly through the darkness. I just followed the footsteps up some stairs and then up another set into the light. Next, there was a long hallway. We stopped just outside the main office, where we were met by a primly dressed white lady with gray hair and glasses. She seemed very professional and pleasant enough as she handed us our schedules and pointed the way to our classes. I would choose to know her as Elizabeth Tucker, my English teacher, and the vice principal for good. As my 8 contacts and I were preparing to head to our classes for
what is the mob's, so this is getting pretty intense. What is the mob's reaction toward the journalists? What does that show about how dangerous the situation was?
She felt hatred towards the journalist, it made more people fear the journalist.
Okay. Mm. Because it wasn't just yelling or chanting anymore. Well, it was physical.
They were doing what they were saying, basically. What you were saying, they were doing it.
Too.
They're acting on their
On their words, which were pretty intense already.
Yeah.
Do you think they were pretty? Yeah. No. Yeah, you're right. Do you want to pass it on to someone else for the rest of the page? You want to keep reading? Okay.
I was horrified when I saw the attack on the evening news. As weary as I was of the press, I felt a kind of kinship with the black reporters who were risking their own lives to tell our country's story. They were accomplished professionals, but in the wooded hamlets and clan territory throughout Mississippi, Alabama, and honestly, Little Rock, they were as reviled as the subjects they trampled miles to cover. They kept coming and kept writing, long before the mainstream press jumped on board. Mother read her black newspapers and magazines with a kind of religious devotion. That's how she was with that with what was going on with their people. Another famous account was that Wilson and colleagues over on Mondays, I realized that 4 of them had unwittingly become decoys for the 9 of us. There was much speculation then about whether there was some kind of agreement for those 4 men to distract the crowd while the 9 of us entered the building. Wilson and his colleagues all denied it. I was never told of any such a deal either. Of course, as a 14-year-old boy, I likely wouldn't have been privy to such information, but I never believed that those 4 journalists were doing anything in that moment other than their jobs. Eventually, that morning, someone in the crowd recognized that while the journalists were being savagely beaten, the 9 of us started in the school building. The hysteria immediately shifted out by then. Through the doors already had shut behind us. Benjamin Fine, the New York Times reporter, had catapulted the story to the front page of his newspaper weeks earlier, gave the scout. They've gone in, a man shouted. Oh God, said a woman. These people are in school. A group of 6 girls dressed in skirts and sweaters, hair and ponytails started to shoot and roll. These people are in our school, they howled hysterically. One of them jumped up and down on the sidewalk, waving her arms toward her classmates in the school who were looking out of the windows and screaming over and over again, come on out, come on out. Tears flowed down her face. Her body shook in uncontrollable spasms. Her classmates grew hysterical and threw their arms around each other. They began dancing up and down. These people are in, they shrieked. Come on out of the school. Don't stay there with these people. Come on out, come on out. Unable to get to us, the crowd began turning on the white journalists covering the scene. Among these attacked were a Life magazine reporter, 2 of its photographers, whose equipment was yanked and smashed. As that sickening spate of violence unfolded, I was likely stepping into my first class of the day, Mrs. Huckaby's English class, where I was oblivious to the commotion outside because Mrs. Huckabee was a vice principal. Her class was just down the hall from the main office, not far from where I had ended up after first entering the school. I just followed her down the hall, and as soon as I walked into her class, she directed me to a desk in the front row, 2 seats from the door. She didn't smile rapidly, and she wasn't particularly warm. I would come to understand that it had nothing to do with me. She treated everyone the same, but I could tell from the outset that she cared.
Pause for a second. So, what kinds of obstacles was she running into on just that last page? Are we thinking more like a psychological obstacle, or more social, or a little bit of both? Psychological, what do you say?
Because she's like crying and like she's so scared that she's gonna act out. But at the same time social, because the teacher, she's not saying anything to her, just directing her towards her seat.
How did Ethan's father feel about
What do you think? Yeah.
Same thing as Rana.
Great. Next reader for. Next reader. You mind picking up? Yeah. Thank you.
She didn't tolerate any name calling, and at first sight of any snickering or taunts, she shut it down immediately. She also kept her eyes on a small group of boys in the band who were most likely to cause trouble. She wouldn't hesitate to file a disciplinary report. She warned, and since she was an administrator, her threat carried weight. In the week and months ahead, her sense of fair play would cause trouble for her among the segregationists, who considered her too sympathetic to us, and thus the enemy. As I slid into my chair in her class that morning, I could feel all eyes fastened on me. That was one of the things I hated most being the center of attention. My insides nodded with dread. I wished to be invisible. I stared at the desktop, the worn hardwood floors, and Miss Huckaby's face, anywhere to avoid the hot gaze of my classmates. Miss Huckabye didn't miss a beat, trying to go on with class as though this was a regular day. But there was nothing regular about this. I tried mightily, but I couldn't concentrate. Why wouldn't they stop staring at me? This was not at all how I had imagined feeling on the first day inside my new school.
What would feel harder, the mob outside, or this like the silent staring from other students inside the classroom? What would feel harder for you inside the classroom? Why do you say that?
Because it doesn't feel good. Because like they're just looking at her because she's different and
The silence is almost like a little bit uncomfortable. At least there's like some noise stimulation from the mob, I suppose. Both are terrifying though.
How did the author tell you in the book that 1904 was different?
What'd you guys say? Sorry, you answered too.
I said the silent glares because like she's constantly gonna be around it, like the mob outside, like she just has to go through the doors and then like, she'll be away from it. But like
That's true.
inside her classmates, she's around them all the time.
That's true. Okay, you want to keep this going?
No. Why? Keep going.
I think she wants to read.
No. Okay, where you go? Finally, the bell rang, but momentarily relief turned quickly to even more serious dread. Hundreds of students spilled from their classes into the halls. The noise level was louder than the loudest football game I'd ever attended. Every face in the crowd was white, and they all seemed to be staring at me, sneering at me. A group of slick-haired boys with their black leather jackets and white t-shirts with cigarettes rolled in them or imitations of James Dean and Elvis Presley purposely walked too close, bumped me hard with their shoulders, and swaggered off, laughing at that person. That word swung at me so often that day that my heart turned almost numb. I tried to tune out their words, their stares, and their finger pointing, but to no avail. A few students looked my way sympathetically, almost as though they were ashamed of their misbehavior. But they also seemed afraid to smile, afraid to say hello, afraid to be seen showing even minimal empathy. Their sympathetic eyes quickly lifted away as soon as they met mine. I yearned to see a kind face, something or someone familiar. Where were the other black students? I saw no sign of them anywhere. I felt so completely alone. Somehow I made it to my second and third period classes, and each time was assigned to the first row, a couple of seats from the door. By third period, my nerves were starting to settle a bit. This was geometry, the class I most feared, and I knew I didn't have another moment to waste. My teacher, Margaret Lehman, was a strict disciplinarian who, like Miss Huckabee, didn't tolerate any nonsense. Her stern face and voice set the tone. She would put up with no disruptions. She announced firmly, We had much work to do, and she moved quickly into the business of class. The atmosphere was calm for about the first 20 minutes when came a knock on the door. I was close enough to see a uniformed officer standing on the other side. Mrs. Regan walked to the door and stuck her head out. I kept my eyes on the two men and we talked briefly. As my teacher stepped back into class, I searched her face for clues. Was something wrong? But her face was blank, and as she announced, Carlotta Wells, get your books and follow the gentleman outside. Get my books. My heart sank and I was leaving again for the day. Follow me, the officer said, turning quickly and stepping speedily down the hall. This time the hallway was empty and quiet, except for the officer's heavy footsteps. As I tried to keep pace with him, my mind turned back to geometry. I couldn't afford to miss another math class. This was my weakest subject. I didn't know anyone yet, so how would I be able to make up the next day's assignment? I missed far too much already.
Oh, okay. Do you want to?
You have 30 seconds.
Okay. Do you want to just keep? Do you want to keep us reading?
There's 30 seconds till they need to leave, so you need to wrap up.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's okay. So that last page. What? Okay. All right. Sorry. Okay. Hey. Okay. I keep reading.
Okay, they gotta go.
We'll wrap up. Yeah. We'll wrap up. Yeah.
Thanks, Grace. Thanks, Alma. Thanks, Alma. Thanks, Rada. Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Maddie.
That's what you were talking about.
Not yet. Yes, now you can go. Goodbye. Yes.